It goes back to white supremacy. Our people was the most moral people ever. When you look at morals and righteousness, look at black people. Look at black women, the most righteous and moral women in the world. So it's white supremacy who's in league with Satan to try to corrupt black women, to corrupt black men. That's what it goes back to. So I know our history, and that's not our people. So I'm going to fight for traditional family values because white supremacy want us not to be there.
It's evident that he cares. What do you care about? Welcome to the Rock Newman Show. It's the Rock Newman Show.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. It is my absolute pleasure to join you and to have you to join me again today. I am Rock Newman. This is the Rock Newman Show 2.0. I am honored to have a very special guest today, someone who I have been watching for many years, and I've been watching him ascend. I've been watching him grow. My guest, without any further ado, is Phil Scott.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you.
Look, this is Phil Scott. You may have seen him earlier. And if you haven't, what I'm going to suggest you do right now is make a note that after you finish watching us here today, that you go and look for the African Diaspora News Channel. This brother is covering things that are relevant to our community throughout the world. We will get into that. We will also get into right now, what made you start doing this kind of work, Phil?
Well, I was working in the petrochemical industry.
In the what?
Petrochemical industry.
For
a long time. And about a few years in is when YouTube and all that came out.
Right.
And so, I used to watch a brother, he was making content. And I said, man, he was talking about the black community at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I used to send private messages on YouTube at that time. I'm talking about YouTube a long time ago.
Right.
And the brother responded back and said, yeah, well, everybody got an opinion. Why don't you get a camera and start? So I said, shoot, I bought my first little $100 camera. And then I had started back then,
How long ago was that, Phil?
Ooh, Lord, how long was that? Ugh. It had to be around 08 and 09. Around that time.
So you coming up on 15 years of...
Yeah, just doing it was seriously, I say from 2012, but I was just kind of playing with it off and on, and just learning the business of what it was. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And folks, look, I've heard Phil say, we all have an opinion. We all got something to say. If, in fact, you have interest and you think you really do have something to say, and you got some connections, some contacts, or the rest, there's nothing that stops you from being able to do this kind of work. We've got so much to cover with Phil, and we're going to get right into it. So you said you've been doing this, Phil, seriously since 2012.
Correct.
What was the motivation for you to really get serious about it?
Well, I didn't want to work in the petrochemical industry all my life. I didn't like working 12-hour shifts. I was working those 12-hour shifts. When I first started off, actually as a deckhand on towboats. Then I got my tankerman's license, so I was a tankerman on the boat. Then I transferred from that to shoreside tankerman.
Let me ask you a question. You were a tankerman on a boat. Where and what does a tankerman on a boat do?
Okay, so that was actually in Houston. I used to work for a company called Kirby, pretty big company. And so a tankerman basically, they bring a barge to, let's say, a Shell oil. They'll load either some crude oil, they'll load some naphtha, gasoline, etc. You load a certain barrel amount in these, barges, and then they take it to the next destination. It could be a holding facility, let's say like a Kinder Morgan, which I used to work for at one point in time, or it could be another refinery, et cetera, and offload that, to the particular shore tanks, et cetera. So that is your oil and gas transportation, which is very important. If you shut that down, you have no movement of product or nothing in this country.
So as a tankerman, you're in control of that load?
Yes.
So that's a pretty
your
heavy
license,
responsibility.
You get a merchant mariners document through the U.S. Coast Guard.
Right.
And so it's a very serious thing because if you mess up, you can go to jail, messing with that.
Yeah.
Like you fall asleep on the bars and you spilling product all on the U.S. Coast Guard will take you behind the jail right then and there because, you messing up the Clean Water Act, right? So, yeah, shout out to all my people that's in that industry.
Wow. Oh, and then you did what after that?
Then I was working 20 days on, 10 days off at the time.
Okay.
And, I didn't want to do that. So I moved on from there with the same company to a shoreside tankerman. So basically you're home, but you're working on on-call schedule. So they call you up, hey, we need you to go to Vopak or something like that, Valero.
Yeah.
You go do the job, whatever. You go back home instead of staying on the boat.
When you were a tankerman out of Houston, what body of water were you on?
Well, I was, of course, you got the Houston Ship Channel and all the different, the Houston facility area has 70 plus facilities. Oil and gas is like the bread and butter of Houston. Just kind of like movies and stuff is the bread and butter of LA, right?
Right.
Of course, the intercontinental waterway is mostly just inland stuff, nothing offshore. I didn't do the offshore thing, no.
Okay. And so you didn't want to, what you've realized is you didn't want to do that anymore, but you still had to keep the rent, mortgage, had to keep the lights on or whatever.
I developed a plan. So when I was a shoreside tankerman, I did that for about 5 years. After that, then I transferred over to being a operator in a facility. And I stayed in the operator at least around 07-ish until I actually stopped doing it December of last year.
Oh, so even while you've been doing all of this work, you still had a day job or a night job or whichever one it was.
Oh yeah, I was working the DuPont schedule. Yeah. Yeah, I just stopped in December. I said, okay, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm done.
Right. So now, from 2012 or so, thereabouts. So about 10 years. We're in 2013 now, when you were starting to do your channel and do the YouTube stuff seriously. You have developed how big of a following currently?
My main channel, that's like 1.4 million.
Folks.
That's on my main channel. And I have other entities where I have another channel, I think the Phillip Scott Show, that one's 395,000. I have, the Black Congregation, that's around 285,000. I have, let me see, I started the podcast channel right now, a little over 50,000. And my travel channel, it's a little bit about 20,500. So I'm building up some new entities.
And across all of your platforms, what that means is you have a couple of million people that have, have subscribed. And folks, I am pointing that out. Phil said something earlier in this conversation. He said he had a plan. He had a plan, had an idea. He was doing something that he no longer wanted to do. And he didn't wait for anybody's handout. He got in the trenches and has emerged now as a prominent figure in this kind of space that I'm in right here. And, on my previous incarnation of the Rock Newman Show, I used to say, we hope to inspire you. And I hope that you get some inspiration out of this brother's approach here and how he is emerging literally as a world-class interviewer, having a show that is really focused on the diaspora. So, Phil, if you can go back, I'm gonna ask you a question here. It might be like asking somebody which is one of their favorite children. Mm-hmm. But in that 10-year span, the last 10-year span, are there a couple of shows that just stand out to you that would be your favorites?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I look at everything I do as my favorite. Everything. Mm-hmm. Because I just think everything is a part of a big thing coming together. So if I put my blood, sweat, and tears in anything, it's my favorite.
I understand. And that's because what you are is you're the daddy to this show. You're the daddy of this show. And that's like, as I said earlier, like asking a daddy, which one of your children is the favorite?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Mm-hmm. When did you develop this idea? You were doing the Phil Advise show, it was called, right?
Yeah, the Advise show.
Yeah, the Advise show. Mm-hmm. Okay. What motivated you to go to your biggest platform, the African Diaspora News Channel?
Okay, so the Advise show basically morphed into the African Diaspora News Channel after my first trip to Ethiopia in 2018. While I was still the Advise show, I did a news report out of Ethiopia in the Tigray region about this festival called Ashenda that they did. And I really liked how, it was presented. I never really knew, most Black Americans know about Africa, right? But I never really paid attention to it until I saw that report. Yeah. So I did a report on it, and then I was contacted by the representative of the consulate in L.A. afterwards.
From Ethiopia?
Yeah, out of L.A. And it was like, hey, you want to go to Ethiopia?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I've never been there. Like, why not? So they say, you know what? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. You and your team, we'll pay for you to have a flight, and just go to Ethiopia and you get to see things yourself. So I'm like, all right. So that's how I ended up going to the African continent. Once being there, landing on the soil, of course, about the first 15 minutes I was upset when I landed.
Why?
Because I was lied to all these years. And I'm like, why did I not know about this? Why all this time? Because remember back in the day, it was Sally Struthers, feed the children, just 10 cents a day. Look at this poor child. It was amazing. I went to Ethiopia, the same country that she was doing that in, right? Mm-hmm. And you go over there and you look and it's like nice cities, look no different than something like America. People that look like you. They heard me talk. They said, oh, you from America? Welcome home. They gave me a hug, tell me welcome home. I never felt so much love in my life from strangers. And I'm like, I was just sitting there just like floored, just floored about that. And then after I got over being upset and I felt that spiritual connection to the land, mm-hmm. I got to my hotel room. And after my experience at the time, I didn't want to come back to America. I didn't want to come back. And because I just felt so much like I didn't feel the stress. I had to deal with no racism, no police, the police talking to me. It was just a totally different experience. Because in America, I won't talk to a police. I don't care what color you are. I won't talk to you unless I have to. I don't trust you. You're an entity of killing. So I don't want to talk to you. But over there, I talk to a police. I have a conversation.
This is so raw for me, what you're just saying. This week, mm-hmm. I met with some officials at the Cuban embassy. Mm-hmm. And I tried to give them an understanding of my sensitivity to what their struggle has been.
Correct.
And I said, here in the United States, the propaganda machine was so powerful that when I was a 10-year-old during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962,
right.
I was so filled with rage and hatred towards mm-hmm. anything Cuba that I literally went through a book we had, and every time I saw the word Cuba, I put a black mark through it. That's what this propaganda had done to my 10-year-old mind, and had done to the minds of I had beautiful, wonderful instructors. But the propaganda that they had our teachers teaching us stuff that made us have that kind of disdain and hatred for Cuba. Now, when you magnify that, put it on steroids about what we thought about Africa. So brother, just pound me here, man. I understand what you're saying, that when you were angry. And I'm saying to you folks out there, pardon this diatribe of mine, as I want to give Phil all the time to talk. But I remember as a child, you know, it was white people and it was black people. And the black people had all different colors, and you know, I was at the light end of that color. But I remember one of the biggest insults as a kid in the late 50s and the early 60s was somebody to call you ABC, Africa's blackest child. So, man, I identify with you saying that you were angry. Okay, take it from there. So you process that a bit.
So it goes back to what you were saying. We all were propagandized. Everybody. This is why today the American public is walked away and rejected the I call it the white supremacist media conglomerate in America that always, you know, everybody else is bad, but nothing about them is bad, right? So of course they propagandize African continent. This is another thing that got me upset. While I'm there, these same white people that tells you, well, if you don't like it here, go back to Africa. Africa this bad, Africa that. You get on a plane, and guess who on the plane?
Yeah.
Them.
Yeah.
With all the nice hotels, and guess who's laid up there? Them. But then they come over here telling you don't want to go to Africa, it's poor, it's this. They don't even like you, this and that third. That's why I say for us at this stage in the game, to listen to anything they tell us, I'm a firm believer of this, if they're breathing, they're lying. And that's just my point. So I'm not going to believe nothing they say about my people. Now, you can tell about other people, but I'm not going to believe you based on your track record.
You know, Avis, my producer, there would be no Rock Newman Show 2.0 if it wasn't for Avis. This brother is my backbone, man. He looked, you know, and he was like, man, I'm going to tell you, in Ethiopia, they laid out the red carpet for Phil. Did you feel you got that kind of treatment?
Oh, yeah.
There?
They treated me good. I have not met, you know, and shout out to my brothers and sisters in Ethiopia that could be watching. They treated me very, very good. Like I said, I didn't want to go back home. I wanted to stay, you know. And then when I came back to America, I got depressed. The moment I landed back in America, I got depressed. I said, because America has a wicked spirit over it. And people, you don't realize it until you leave. It's a wicked and oppressive spirit that's over this country. A lot of hate that's just in the spirit because it's in the foundation of America. Anti-black racism is the foundation of America. White supremacy is the European American culture. You take away white supremacy and the hatred and everything that they do, they will cease to exist. So they got to keep that going. When I get out of here, I don't have to look at them, the Karens, right? You don't have to deal with the race soldiers. You don't have to deal with any of that. In itself is peaceful. We die in America a lot for we do things against ourselves due to stress. Well, some of us self-medicate through alcohol, drug usage. Some people want to get blazed. A lot of times they don't realize that's self-medication for the wickedness in this system. And you don't realize it till you get out of it. I tell black people, just get out of this country for a week and then come back. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
So you're a huge advocate on people in the black community putting their feet somewhere on African soil.
I'm a big advocate of black people having their U.S. passport, never be without it. I'm an advocate of black people, of course, going to the African continent, but maybe going to the Caribbean may be better for you, maybe because you need proximity to the United States. I just think we should all have a second address or work on having a second address. Just in case it goes down here for whatever reason, say, oh, I got relationships in this country, that country. Let me call my people over here. I'm gone.
Phil, do you? I mean, this is deep what you're saying, man.
Mm-hmm.
About how you just your personal feeling about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Has it? You know, I saw headlines that Stevie Wonder moved to Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't confirm if it's true. Are you aware?
I've heard that.
Okay.
I've heard it.
Okay. So, have you given consideration, given how you have assessed the dynamics here and what you feel there, have you given consideration to making that your permanent home?
Oh yes, it's not a consideration. It's going to happen, but I would never detail the day nor the hour.
So since you said that, let me ask you if I can. What's behind that you wouldn't say when?
Because black people talk too much. We tell white supremacy every move we're going to make, and then we wonder why we get sabotaged. That's been our problem. We talk too much. Mm-hmm. We on public platforms, we need to watch what we say and how we say it.
You know, man, I'm laughing because right now I'm thinking in 1997,
mm-hmm.
John Johnson, the owner of Jet Magazine,
mm-hmm.
said exactly that to me. You run your goddamn mouth too much, boy. What I had come to talk to him about mm-hmm. was trying to buy a minor league baseball team, the Savannah Nats in Savannah, Georgia, and how the ownership, when I contacted them as Eugene Newman,
mm-hmm.
and they checked out my financials, they did all of that, they were beyond thrilled that somebody could buy that team, come buy that team, which was struggling. When they found out I was Rock Newman, they had a whole different attitude, and all of a sudden the team wasn't even for sale anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him about that, and I talked to him about my experience with the Cincinnati Reds ownership, Marge Sott, who mm-hmm. is, just an avowed racist,
mm-hmm.
And I told him.
Wait, she's dead, right?
I think she's passed now.
Okay.
I think she's passed now.
Okay,
yeah.
Make she burn in hell. Okay, continue.
So how I had partnered with two white guys to buy a minor league team that is currently in Dayton.
Okay.
And everything was sailing smoothly until they recognized that the two white guys' partner was a black guy. Mm-hmm. And a lawsuit was initially established. But John Johnson's wisdom, as profane as it was,
mm-hmm.
was solid. So I respect what you're saying, that you ain't about to let folks know exactly.
Well, let me tell you, it's not only that. Also, you can create enemies within your own community, mm-hmm. because you have some black people that's so bought into the Kool-Aid of this white supremacist system that you have to understand, some black people will get angry with you for you even having the possible option to do something different than they are. How dare you gonna leave? Because you got some black folks that say, well, why you want to leave? What's the point of you leaving? They will condemn you for maybe possibly leaving. Now, I always said that due to what I do, I'm going to be doing back and forth. That's what, I will always, because the United States is home. I mean, hell, I was born in Port Arthur, Texas. Come on now. I got family here.
Sure.
But when you see that your American dollar goes, for instance, I was in South Africa, when your $1 goes 18 times, when you see you can't get an apartment unless you have 3 times the rent, it's not like that in South Africa. It's not like that in Kenya. It's not like that in Ethiopia. It's, you know what I'm saying? Places like that I have been, right? Nothing you could tell me could say how we got more advantage other than making the money, and then how you make the money. There's a lot of people doing today what they call digital nomads. If you can have an at work home job, live in another country, that's how you live like a king or a queen. And many brothers and sisters are doing that every day.
Folks, I am blessed to be interviewing Phil Scott. You can find him, look him up, the African Diaspora News Channel bringing you news literally from around the world and newsmakers. Phil, tell us about this lineup that you have created, man. It's like I'm genuflecting at your feet from my little perch here in Southeast Washington, trying to have an impact from this, small locality. I am on, again, 1918 Martin Luther King Avenue. But Phil, you now are bringing on international correspondents on your various platforms. Mm-hmm. Tell us who and what that's all about.
Well, for me, it's called African Diaspora News Channel, correct?
Yeah.
So if you don't get the greater diaspora involved, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
So I tell people, I'm kind of like you watch the Marvel movies. I'm like Nick Fury. I'm trying to build a team, right?
Yeah.
And so Nick Fury went to build all the different, from Iron Man to the Hulk well, that's what I'm trying to do. Now, Nick Fury, even though he's running everything, right, he let them be in the front. Mm-hmm. And that eventually, that's kind of going to be my position. I'll come out when I need to, but I'd rather the team be out, let the Avengers be out in the front. Mm-hmm. So, and I like the unknown people. I don't like established people. Mm-hmm. My experience with established people is ego. I don't like the ego. Mm-hmm. So I want to find the person that only just started, the person that maybe got just 10 subscribers on their YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. That's the person I want, because I guess it's for me, it's like a musician. Yeah. I have an ear to hear certain things in a person's tone and how they come across, and then we reach out to them. So like Sister Wangale, I remember she only had like maybe 100 subscribers, but I watched the video she made. And I was like, man, okay. So I kept playing her videos. I said, well, let me reach out to her.
Where's she from?
She's originally from Ethiopia.
Okay.
That's one of our correspondents. And she's been with us for a few years now.
Okay.
She's doing very good. And in the midst of when I bring somebody on, I'm trying to teach them how to read the audience, teach just coaching them along the way.
Sure.
We have Sister Demetria, with us. She covers most of Black American news.
Okay.
Very, very, very smart sister. A lot of times I'm asking her different advice at times. Hey, Sister Demetria, what you think about this? Yeah. She's very sharp. Yeah. So I will ask her and Kellen, my wife. I have a few people I ask advice to. We have various contributors that come in our contributor program. Anybody can kind of come in. And we make a deal with them on revenue, and then they can make as much as they want, or they don't have to make nothing at all.
You know what, Phil? I believe in lifting us all. So I take pleasure in giving the opportunity. If you can tell folks that are listening that might be attracted to what you're saying and about the possibility, because we're seeing around the world and wherever they might be, what is the best way for them, one, to see you, to see your programming, and then to get in touch with you if they have any interest in doing what you're talking about, and them becoming a part of the team. Okay.
So you definitely go to African Diaspora News Channel and check us out. If you need to get in contact about things like that, you can contact Kellen Coleman at Colemanpr.com. ColemanPRFirm.com. Because if you try to contact me directly, his name may not be the same as
that ain't gonna happen.
Going to him. Because so many people are contacting me every day. Can you do this? Can you do that?
You cannot.
But if you got a skill like graphic design, editor, or you want to be a contributor as well, you can also do it jobs at AfricanDiasporaNews.org. I will look at that. But please send me your work. Don't just tell me you want to do something. Send me your work. I don't care if you have education, no education. Don't matter to me. It's about the work.
And folks, right now I'm being screamed at by my producer to do something that I don't do often enough. So what do we want to do? You want to like this page, you want to subscribe to this page, and what else, Avis? Like and subscribe to Rock Newman Show 2.0, just like you do the same thing for Phil's various platforms. Phil, you brought up we were talking about the diaspora, and it leads me to a question that practically every guest that I have now, we touch on in one way or the other.
Okay.
Their thoughts about the debate, the challenge, the promise of reparations, petitioning this government and other governments for reparations. Particularly, I want to talk about it, top line overview one, and also part of what I find frustrating is those voices who are advocating for reparations within our community here in the U.S. I just see too much bickering and too much infighting, too much confusion, which what I'm sure is the joy to the oppressor. Please give me your thoughts.
Let's just go on this basic question. What are reparations? Reparations for me is a moral and an economic debt that's owed to Black Americans who built this country. We are in Washington, D.C. You wouldn't have the White House wouldn't be for Black Americans. You wouldn't have Washington, D.C. without our great brother Benjamin Banneker, right? The father of astronomy in Washington, D.C. You wouldn't have NASA without that brother. You look at the Capitol, all that. Black Americans built it all, and we built it for free. And we built a beautiful country, and these white supremacists are literally destroying this country. So everywhere they go, they destroy. So we need to get our reparations, point blank, in the form of cash payments, like you paid the Japanese, like you paid the Jewish community, like you paid the Iran hostages you gave money to, $4.4 million. You broke them off for being hostages for each day. We need cash payments. Period. I don't want to hear no talk personally about, well, we need a program. We got enough programs. We need cash payments. Black people on the streets. Black people can't afford rent. Black people need food. We need to take that cash and apply it. We don't need to tell black people, well, you're not going to do right with it. Well, if they want to blow their reparations, they want to go drink it up in the club, let them do it as their reparations. Everybody not going to do that. So we need cash payments, period. And to me, personally, if you're not talking about cash payments for Black Americans, and all of a sudden everybody's an economic expert about money when it comes to Black people. I've said this publicly and I'll say it on your show. If you do not support cash payments for Black Americans when it comes to reparations, but you say nothing about Ukraine getting money, you're saying nothing about all the different groups getting money, then to me, you're an anti-Black racist. Because you don't want Black people to get money, but everybody else can have your money. And I don't care if you're Black. You're still an anti-Black racist. Because you remember Stephen from Django Unchained, right? Yeah. He was a more hardcore white supremacist than Calvin Candy was, right? Yeah. And you got them Black people right in our community. So, yes, that's my position, cash payments for Black people.
You made that clear, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, you didn't beat around the bush on that. You weren't ambiguous about that.
No.
That's where you are. That's where, okay. I recently had on Roland Martin, and Roland was not optimistic.
Of course.
That there would be even a chance for reparation. Now, I said he wasn't optimistic. You said, of course. Why'd you say that?
Because he'd get his reparations from the Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. That's why. So he believes in the system, right? And he needs that system to survive. That's basically what it is. I'm not one to say believe in that system because, I heard his interview. He believes in the Democrat Party and the politics of this country. That's exactly what they want you on, is to believe in that completely because it keeps you on the hamster wheel. And of course, in that hamster wheel system, you're going to have a few house Negroes that's going to be allowed in and a few talented tenths to be allowed in, right? And they're going to give them a little extra crumbs because, like I said, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The video that he made when the elections was going on, right? He was crying about Black people lining up to vote for Joe Biden. He was crying, big crocodile tears. Oh boy, I'll never forget that video. I said, why is this grown man crying about voting? Who cares? And then miraculously, Joe Biden gets in office and he gets a good upgrade. I noticed that because before that, he didn't have a big upgrade. Because see, there are Black people that are paid millions of dollars and given set aside to deliver the Black vote. Black voters matter. That's another group. Gets millions of dollars from white people to deliver up the Black vote. Okay, we go vote for the Democrat Party. Fine. What do we get out of it? But when we vote, right, Asians get a bill that assists them, but yet Black Americans are the #1 victim of hate crimes. Go to the FBI numbers. They track it every year. We lead as victims. The Congressional Black Caucus, they could have at least stood up and say, hey, wait a minute. We need to add Black people to this because we got the FBI statistics to back this up. Every time there's something for Black people, it's always no, wait, maybe next time. So a lot of black people, when you hear black people being apathetic to voting, is because we have voted every election. We have voted. And we watch everybody, LGBT, we watch this group, that group, everybody get stuff off of our vote. Then we're demonized in the process that we do everything wrong. They propagandize so-called left-wing media, say that we was attacking Asians. But you look at the numbers, it was white supremacists attacking Asians. Like every time we are demonized. This is why black people are so apathetic now. And you have some black people that's on the left-wing side, just like you got people on the right-wing side, they get paid to deliver up certain things. So how we feel, and Roland has made his little comments about me in the past, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to people like him, he's working in the system, and he gets what he wants. He plays pro-black, and then he make his little threats, a little Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton thing, and then they get paid and they back off, and that's it. So yeah. Because he's mentioned my name before, so that's why I'm mentioning him.
Hey, okay, this platform is for the truth. It's for the truth, and it's for opinion as to how people really feel. And I invite all to speak their truth and to give their opinion. Now, so let me then examine that a little bit.
Okay.
In terms of what is a straightforward from you criticism of the system. I think, if I'm hearing that right.
Yeah.
So you spoke more about the frailties and the lack of delivery on the Democrat side. Do you advocate that black folks would vote for the other side? Not at all. What's your position?
I advocate for black people to vote their interests, to be actually politically independent. Don't be a Democrat, don't be a Republican. If the Democrat is going to give black people a tangible thing that we need, let's vote Democrat. If a Republican is going to give us something tangible that we need, let's vote Republican. I'm not all this will only vote one side, because it's like this. The Democrat Party has been having a monopoly on the black vote. Well, let's look at it in the corporate world. When a company has a monopoly, they treat you any kind of way. Versus when you have choice, now they got to treat you a little better. Hey, we're going to offer you a discount to come over here. We give you a month free to come over here. But before, you're like, oh, I'm going to treat you any kind of way because you got to deal with me. So black people have to be politically independent. I'm not saying you don't vote, and I think it's your position. If you don't want to vote, if a Democrat or Republican not give you nothing, then don't vote for them. Why do we just have to vote? We don't tell no immigrants anything. We are the only group of people that's literally like threatened by oh, we should vote. And you look at our history, we didn't gain anything by just voting. Because I heard your interview with Roland, I'm going to use his government name. And he says something about white people is not in approving for reparations. Well, white people didn't approve us getting off the plantation either. I didn't see them saying, hey, yeah, let's get black people off the plantation. There was a big section of white people say, no, the black people need to stay on the plantation. They're making us a lot of money. And they had a civil war, etc., right? Nothing about what we have, white supremacy, is going to say we in approving of it. They depend on us to be at the bottom. The majority of them didn't want us out of Jim Crow. We fought our way out of Jim Crow. We fought our way out of everything. We have spilled blood. Look at Holy Week that happened after Dr. King died. When they thought America was going to go under. Dr. King tried to fight for that Fair Housing Act. When he was alive, he couldn't get it. But when Holy Week happened, all of a sudden, 7 days later, yeah, let's go on and do this Fair Housing Act, let black people move in. We didn't vote for that. People forget that history that a lot of brothers and sisters in the civil rights movement died for the rights that they have. They didn't go to the poll and say, let me vote on that. No.
You know, you mentioned about when blacks were freed. I'm hesitant to ever even use that word because, you know, I think the human experience and the human spirit is not one that like the Emancipation Proclamation. What the hell, Emancipation Proclamation, that somebody has some authority and some power to give you freedom, which is God, which I think is a God-given right. But talking about that time and blacks just being, quote unquote, freed, while the enslavers, they got reparations for the blacks that they had profited wildly from.
Correct.
For free labor.
Correct.
For so very long. So this whole idea of the argument that reparations aren't sensible by any calculation to me is just absolutely mindless. Now, the strategy towards forgetting reparations, I'm such an advocate of us coming together, with the best strategies to go for that. And it just really does sicken me when we talk about this issue of reparations, where there are so many different factions that I think are well-intended. That fight as much against each other in the fight for reparations as they do fighting for reparations. So folks think I'm on a soapbox here, but
I'm responding.
It's really important.
I'm responding to that. The biggest problem that we have is, once again, can we speak things into existence? When we telling people, well, I don't think we gonna get it. What do you mean? No. See, why can't we get on code about that? Say, hey, we all say we need reparations. We are the only community that I see that will literally fight against each other about something that's owed to us. Like, everybody would benefit off of reparations. That is lineage-based reparations, right? If we would benefit from it, why would you be against it? I don't care what position you are. You are no higher than your people. I don't care if I get $100 million tomorrow. I'm still no higher than my people. If my people is at the bottom, I'm still at the bottom just with $100 million in the bank, right? So why can't we get on code and say, okay, cash payment reparations, period. That's what we need. And anybody that's speaking against that, we are going to have a backlash toward them because they are being black progress. So but most people that I know, they do agree cash payment. Now, certain factions of different generations, unfortunately, is kind of saying things to get in the way of it. And that becomes a problem. We have a generational, I think, problem in the community.
To be discussed much more. Let's move to some more current stuff and some of your shows that I saw you do and some of your commentary. One stood out. Many stood out. Let me go to one here. You seem to be highly critical of Russell Wilson and his wife, Sierra. You brought a black male perspective to that, where if I heard it right, interpreted you correctly, you basically were saying that Russell Wilson, the husband of Sierra, should not have allowed his wife to come out in public with a semi-nude dress where it didn't leave much at all to the imagination that she was advertising.
Correct.
Let's get into that. Tell me what you wanted to convey in your message and your opinion about that.
Well, first of all, in this Babylonian system, traditional family values and manhood is greatly attacked. And we see the pushing of anything that's anti-traditional male, which is provide for your wife and children, working, hard, right? Defending your family, basic things that men has done for centuries, right? We're seeing the feminization of the male in the Babylonian Western system. We just seen, unfortunately, it was so unfortunate, what LeBron James had on. My God, he had on some sort of either kilt or skirt or something. I'm more so on the traditional family, what I was taught by my grandfather, my father, uncles, the great black men before me. And what I'm conveying is that you as a man, if you let and allow, and yes, I'm using the word let and allow. Now, what I mean by that, you can't physically stop her. No, but what you can say is, number one, why you think that's okay to go out in public like that? As number one, as a mother. Number one, as a mother. Number two, as a married woman. Why do you think that's okay? So you're going to draw a certain kind of attention. Men going to shoot at you a certain way. Other women going to look at you in a certain manner. Like, what does that say for you as a man in the leadership of your home? It seems like that your home was flipped upside down and that she's running the household and you following like one of her kids. And women do not respect no man that they could run. They will never respect them.
So then that probably gets to the core of what might be a controversy where people might push back. Mm-hmm. And that would be that what the hell do you mean, as you said, let? You define that. But there seems to be a hierarchy there that you are alluding to, that the man should be in control of the house as opposed to the man and the woman being equal partners.
Men should lead their household. Men have been leading their households for centuries. Let's go back to the black community. When the black man was the head of the household, notice how our family stayed together. The divorce rate isn't what it was. The single parent rate is over 80%. Flip over to when the crack epidemic came in. A lot of black men was taken out of the household, mass incarceration. Now we have a single parent-led household, more of a matriarchy. And look at the difference with our families and children now without the protection and leadership of the black man. If you look at, if only in our community that we are demonized for saying that the black man should lead their household. And leadership doesn't mean abusing nobody. It doesn't mean a dishonor, because you look at the way leadership is meaning, it's like you honor your wife, you honor your children, you provide, you protect. And part of protecting your wife is saying, hey, baby, don't wear that, because you're trying to protect her. It's like, why are black men in particular demonized for saying that they need to lead their household?
Man, I wish I could recall it verbatim, but I can't. But someone on Facebook responded to something either that I wrote or I just saw it in somebody else's, where a lady, in a very articulate manner, saying, I don't want to be demeaned by someone telling me that they need to protect me. This was a black woman. This was a black woman. I don't want to be subjugated to that position. And you say what?
Then to stay single, stay by yourself. And then you can do whatever you want to do. Men, it's in us to be traditional family values. I tell men, when a woman feel that way, it's her right, it's her prerogative, but that is the modern woman speaking. That is not a traditional woman. It's totally different. Traditional women want to have that. They want the protection of their husbands. They want to rest in their femininity. They want to say, if I want to stay home and raise my kids, my man got it. That's the kind of women that a lot of men say, let's go after. And unfortunately, due to this modern woman system in America, some men have to leave America to go find a traditional wife, because unfortunately in the Western system, just filth is celebrated. Versus, let's say you go to African countries, for instance, you can't get away with what Sierra did in Uganda. Go pull that in Uganda if you want to. You will be shamed by the men and the women. That's what I'm talking about. In our own community in America, we would have shamed that. And the good thing about my age range is that I got to see just a little bit of it. When we still had some shame in the black community, and I seen it transfer into this mess we see today. And what I see today don't work. It don't work for our children. It don't work for our community. So if people are mad that I'm saying this, so you mean to tell me that's okay to defend filth? What about those children when they go to school? Your mama is half naked on for the world to see. What about those children when people say, man, what your mama had on? Kids got to deal with that. The backlash, what their parents do. That's why I try to be a good representation, because my children are watching me.
So, folks, in the event that my questioning is misunderstood, let me say something. 20 years ago, sitting around a table, it was like two guys and, 10, 11 girls.
Okay.
Women. And folks, Phil, I asked the question, interestingly enough, what was the number one factor in a man that made a woman attracted to him. And almost to a person, somebody said something, and I think it was more frivolous than it was really given thought. Like that brother got to have some money for me. That was what one person said, and she never really came off of that money, honey. The ones who answered the question more, I think, thoughtfully, seriously, said security. Mm-hmm. To your point about traditional relationships, I really do see a conflict, a wrestling match, a boxing contest, call it what you will, in modern day relationships between men and women, where on the one hand, it seems to me to be an instinct for the woman to look for the security in a man, but absolutely now being culturalized in a way to say, I don't want no man telling me what to do. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not taking a position there. Mm-hmm. I'm just seeing what I observe.
Right.
Same thing?
Well, women, no matter what country they come from, they definitely look for a man with resources. They were looking for a man to protect them, etc. I expect my own daughter. It's like, for instance, when you have a daughter, you meet the guy. First thing you want to know what you do for a living. You don't want your daughter no bum on the street, right? But some of that, he got to have money, like the ridiculous thing they say in the day about they need to have 6 figures. Like, are you crazy? And what's crazy to me is that how black people have gotten so entitled. That's amazing. So wait a minute, we come from the hood, food stamps, government cheese, and you talking about 6 figures? Come on now. You know good and well we got to work our way up.
When you say that, you mean the woman is talking about 6 figures?
Yeah. You got women in our community today that's talking about a man needs to have 6 figures when the average man black man makes about $42,000. Only maybe about our top 3% of black men make over $100,000 a year. Now, maybe the top 1% make over $1 million. So you're going to cut down the majority of men. And who's to say 1 year you could be at $42,000, the next year you could be at $500,000. Next year you can be at $2 million. It's a process. And nobody wants to process anymore. This current generation, I noticed it. This current generation don't want to work for anything. They want to start day one at the top. That's not the way it works. I think it's this current generation personally.
So I have someone who has developed more recently into a good friend.
Okay.
I kind of mentor him a little bit, and he comes from a background of preachers being in his family.
Correct.
Strong male preachers in his family. And one of the big divides in his household is he loves and supports most of the positions of Kevin Samuels.
Okay.
And his wife hates him and thinks that, he wishes that he had never existed, because she thought that the messages that he was giving belittled, demeaned, and degraded women, especially black women. Mm-hmm. Your response?
I've interviewed Brother Kevin one time, and a very, very eloquent brother, very professional brother. Kevin Samuels, from my observation, is that he basically brought a lot of these women who the heads in the clouds back down to planet Earth, and they didn't like that. They did call his show, tell him, would you rate me and all that. So they would call his show. It's not like the man would just go and just say different things to him. Mm-hmm. I seen it. One thing Kevin did do, he also brought a lot of courage to your blue collar worker, and basically tell them, hey, look, you're more than who you are. Don't put up with 3 and 4 children from Pookie and Ray Ray. Don't be a stepdaddy like that. Is this something? That's what they didn't like about Kevin, because Kevin was getting these men that they had the insurance policy on. Because see what a lot of them do, unfortunately.
A lot of them, you're talking about women.
We're talking about women, unfortunately. And let me say some, not all. They go in their younger years, within that 18, maybe 30 range sometime, and they go lay down with I always use the rapper Future for one, that archetype. They go get with those guys. They may have 1 or 2 kids with them. Then they get in that epiphany stage. You know what? I need a Russell Wilson. Let me go find him. And then what Kevin Samuels was doing was basically going to the Russell Wilsons of the world and say, you don't got to put up with and raise those kids. No, you need your own family. I never heard Kevin say don't have a family. He said you need to have your own family. So what Kevin was doing was telling when those women come along with Future's kids, and they say, oh, no, go back over there with Future. I want my own wife. I want my own kids. And that's what's really what was the biggest offense, from what I noticed, with a lot of women who have a problem, at least with Kevin Samuels. No, was Kevin perfect? No. Did I agree with everything Kevin said? No, I didn't. But for the most part, he gave a lot of men confidence that didn't have confidence. And in the black community, black men are supposed to take everybody's trash. And so when black men not taking your trash anymore, okay, who are we going to go to? Because they don't pull that stunt with other groups of men. They only pull that with us.
So we've still got a little bit of time left here. As we talk about this issue of black men, you said earlier about it seems like everything in this society now lends itself towards feminizing black men.
Yeah.
Give me some examples.
Well, if you notice, and I'm not trying to get your page in trouble, so I'm going to try to say this eloquently as possible. But you notice that they will promote a black man wearing a dress versus a black man that just got his doctorate degree, or a black man that maybe started a business and hired 1,000 people, or a black man has been in his with his wife for 20 years, been a great man. They don't want to promote those black men who are strong alpha males. Anytime that we see a black man being promoted in the white media space is always someone that's either putting on a dress or someone, doing things that's more feminized, right? And that is an agenda within white supremacy. I'm going to say the Western system is to promote that because, as Dr. Frances Cress Welsing has said about the feminization, well, what does feminization do for, at least for us? Their numbers are dwindling. So in order for them to stop us, we have to be in relationships where we're not creating children. Well, what relationships we get in and we're not creating children outside of a medical issue, right? Well, we know what the relationships are. So it's just like why they're trying to bring all that, bring a lot of that to the African continent. The African continent is projected to have over 2 billion people by 2050. Well, that's a threat to them because the more Africans in the world, like even the minister talked about that, laying down, with even one of them can wipe them out. They know that. That's why they always criminalize black men to laying down with their women, etc. And I'm not promoting that. I'm just saying that's just what it is with our strong genetics. So in America, you got to expect that. It's warfare in America. Psychological, physical, economic, it's straight warfare against black people.
And when you say that, you're talking with that warfare that you're talking about is constantly being waged.
Oh, every day.
By
white supremacy.
White supremacy.
Yes, every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I recently had Neely Fuller on.
Oh, okay. Great brother.
Great brother. He very succinctly states that in every phase of oppression that black folks experience, it is as a result of white supremacy. And he says, I'll give you every example. You just tell me if this is white or true. Is it true that that our childbirth, the mothers dying at childbirth, is at a 3 times the rate of others? Black boys getting shot by police. He even takes it to the perpetration and the diabolical propaganda that we talked about it earlier that causes the self-hatred in a community to make somebody look at somebody that looks like themselves and want to kill them. Mm-hmm. He lays it at the hand of white supremacy.
And it goes back to what you was talking about earlier with even the comments about the Sierra thing. It goes back to white supremacy. Our people was the most moral people ever. When you look at morals and righteousness, look at black people. Look at black women, the most righteous and moral women in the world. So it's white supremacy who's in league with Satan to try to corrupt black women, to corrupt black men. That's what it goes back to. So I know our history, and that's not our people. So I'm going to fight for traditional family values because white supremacy want us not to be there. And he's 100% right. But on top of that, I just covered a story where a white nurse admitted that America is the most dangerous place in the developed world for black women to have their children. The most dangerous. So it all links back to white supremacy completely. Now it goes back to my other position. That's why I tell black people, you may be considering eventually having your place in the Caribbean or the continent of Africa, because I don't see mass incarceration of black people in the continent of Africa. I don't see no George Floyds happening in the continent of Africa. I don't see black people getting shot 17 times in the back. All the different things that we have here, sabotage of business, sabotage of our relationships. Everything is sabotaged. That's why I tell people in this country we're sabotaged. Completely sabotaged. They don't target immigrant, other groups, they target us because we are the constant threat in white supremacy.
Phil, I would like to give you this last 2 minutes that we have to talk to the diaspora. We obviously cannot give up. We've got to continue to struggle to elevate ourselves. I'd like to give you the platform as we go out here again with these last 2 minutes. And from where you sit, giving a word of inspiration to those that are looking in here, having an objective opinion that, man, we're in a tough situation. Your thoughts and ideas about how to rise up.
Well, for us as a community, I would say, if we would you can go back to the civil rights movement. When you get on code with each other and agree, listen, who is the common person that's actually harming us? Of course, we got people within our community, and definitely we know we got white supremacy that's harming us. In order for us we literally going to have to separate from a big group of our people, unfortunately. The reason why I say that is we're going to have an internal separation within our own community. You have a group of black people who are literally so white supremacist in the mind that they harming everything. That's why when you have black people get together, let's say like me, you, and 5 other brothers, let's create a business district. If you let them in, they gonna ruin it. Forget white supremacy, they gonna ruin it because they so trained in the mind to be anti-black. And that's been our issue and problem. Sometimes we have to even get away from them enough to even say, let's go to another land like in the Bible. Let's go to another land and establish a place and build from there sometime. We just got to do that. Now, you may say, okay, what about the people here? It's worse today than what it was, let's say, back even in the 1960s in a lot of ways. Because at least in that time period, we still had our own businesses. We had our own neighborhoods. We had a little bit more cohesion. Now today, you have people coming into this country, and we was talking about earlier about immigration. The American embassies vet who comes in here. They're not going to let no Nelson Mandela come in here or Julius Malema come in here. They're going to let the bootlicking raccoon shine come in here. And you wonder why you have problems. It is U.S. embassies that's doing that by vetting them, because you know brothers and sisters get visas to come here and they look at them, and then if they don't approve them, they don't give them their money back. Do you know that happens? I just found that out this past trip to South Africa. Say, they keep your money? Yes, they keep their money. And they have to come reapply again. You literally stealing money. That's not right. You at least give them their money back if you know how to approve them. So we have so many working factions. Like for me, like I tell people, I'm not going to fight with these people to the day I die. I know who they are. That's their culture. I say this much. I have my place on the African continent. I love y'all. I definitely always fight with you. but I'm not gonna have you fighting against me. I'm not gonna have that. So if you want to big up Sierra, see, that's a problem. If you bigging up Sierra, attacking me because I call into account for a married woman that's a wife to have some respect and honor for herself and for her kids and her husband, and I'm the problem for saying it. That's one of our biggest issues in the community, and it comes from this wicked system that we're in. Then you have people anti-black racism is incentivized in this country, right? So we gotta get together, and we can at least get together on reparations and have a financial transfer. Then we can really focus on it. But we just gotta get with like-minded people, build families again, and just have that separation. That's just how I look at it. And that separation has to be completely, even political separation. You know, like I said earlier, we vote in our interest. If we get nothing out the deal, we just hold our vote until somebody's gonna do it.
You and I have to do this again, brother.
Okay.
Thank you so very much for coming here today, man.
Thank you.
This is Phil Scott. You've seen another version of the Rock Newman Show 2.0. Like, comment, share. Let folks know that we're here, and we're here on a mission to make our lives better. See you the next time.
That's it.